Welcome to this video. In this video, I'll show you how we can use the Redux in React Native using TypeScript. And the basic idea is we have one login screen where we will call some APIs. And in that API, we will get some response as a login response. So once you receive the response, we will move forward with the profile screen or homepage or something else. I'll show you by creating a new project from scratch. All right. So in terminal, this is my current directory. So now I'm gonna init expo init ts Redux tutorial. So I'm gonna choose blank TypeScript. Okay, our project is ready. Let's switch to the current directory. Yeah, ts Redux tutorial. Now we will open Visual Studio Code. Alright, so this is our FTX file and this is our packaging. So we need to install some dependency. So let's install npm install React or Redux and Redux tank and Axios and types also need required for React Redux. Okay. Right, so all set now. Now we will create a source directory right here. Okay, now we will create other folders also, other directories also to organize our source code. Okay. And inside the Redux directory, I need to create a couple of more directories, which is extents and reusers. Okay. So in this directory, one more directory is there for images, and one more is required for utils. Yes. And in a screen, we will create create one screen. It may be home or login screen. Login is fine. Login.tsx. Okay. So here we need to add some boilerplate code to make this login component. So I'm gonna make it faster. Okay, so this is the time to give a shot of run expo. Now we will run on simulator. So as you can see right here, this is started. So let's run iOS simulator. Okay, so yes, it will take some time. So meanwhile, we'll create one file index.tx inside the Redux directory. So now, yes, it's started. It started correctly. Okay, so now we will start working with the Redux. So we will create. We need to create some actions inside the actions. We will create one file, which name user actions.ts, and as well as we will create one file for reducer also, which is called user reducers.tx. Okay, right. So inside the user reducer, we will add some code later on, but now the time is to go to write some actions inside here. Okay, export interface, a login action, and inside the interface, we need to declare some property. Remember, read only type will be on login, and the payload will be for a while null. Okay, and again one more actions interface we will create right here. Export interface error action. Okay, and read only type will be on error, and payload will be null. Okay, so that's good. So now we need to export this type. So we will create a new type which is called export type user actions, login action, and error action. So basically this type will return the two types of the actions together. So at least we can access the both of the actions inside the user type and user action type. Let's create the user reducer right here. We will put some code right here in the user reducer. So import. First of all, we need that the actions file. So user action, and now we will create const user reducer. It will return some state, and state will be some state. Oops. Okay, and action will be user action. Okay. Okay, so this some state we need to define some type right here. So let's define its type user state, and user state will have some property, and that will be user, and user will be a type of some model. Error will be string, and it can be undefined also. So now type of model we can later on introduce right here. So this web service we will use, and we will get some kind of response, and that response will be our model. So let's declare a model right here. So export interface user model, and it will be first name as a string, and last name also will be string, and subscription also will be string, and token also will be string. Okay, that's good. So our user model is ready. So now we will return the user model right here, and in the user state, user will be a type of user model, and the state will be user state. So user state will we need to assign some initial state here. So let's declare that initial state. Const initial state. User will be type of object, and error will be any. So we can use undefined. Okay, it's complaining. We can cast it to user model. Okay, so here we will use switch case action dot type, and case will be on login, and this on login is coming from actions, which is we have earlier declared, and there are two actions, and which is a kind of user action. So user action is providing both the actions, so that's why it is coming right here. As you can see, there are two types. It's displaying properly. So again, the case on error, and we are going to use the default also, which is return is a state. Okay, so on error it will return the existing state, and along with the error will be action.payload, which will be in this case any. Return again on login will return existing state, and user will be the action that payload. This action payload will return the user model. So we need to change this user model in the user action also, right here, user model, and here we're returning any. That's all. Okay, that's good. Now a little bit clean up here, and now our reducer is ready to export. So we will export this reducer as user reducer. Good. Now this is the time to create a store. So we don't have a store right now, so we need to create a file, and inside the Redux directory, and there we will create our store. Okay, let's create the file store.ts. Good. Here we will import a Redux from create store and apply middleware. That's good. Now we need to import thunk from Redux and we will import our user reducer from reducers. Okay, this will be the root reducer. So we have not added any code in the root reducer. Let's create the root reducer as index.ts. So here we will import the combine reducer from Redux, okay, and import Redux, the combine reducers. Okay, so import our user reducer from user reducer, and now const root reducer equal to combine reducer. We need to provide this property right here, user reducer. Okay, it will be our user reducer. Now we need to export this root reducer. Export and export type will be application state, and return type will be type of root reducer. This application state will hold whole complete state of the whatever reducers we are using with this root reducer. So there are some more reducer maybe also come, so which will completely accessible from directly from application state. Okay, export reducer is fine. So now we will utilize root reducer right here in our store file. Okay, so thunk here we are using thunk. Thunk is a middleware that let you call the action creators that return a function instead of an action object. So basically you can say it's a thunk is a concept of the programming where function is used to delay the evaluation calculation of an operation. Now we are creating our store, and we are applying the middleware thunk also right here. We apply middleware thunk. Okay, good. So now we need to export this store. Export store. The store. Good. Now this is the time to hook up our Redux with the application. So I'm gonna clean a little bit here. This is not required. It's fine. Then import React Redux. Provider will be required from here. Provider. Yeah. And now we need the store. So let's import store from the Redux directory. This source Redux. Okay, so what we will do, we will import all the files, Redux dependent files, to index.ts file. So at least we can able to access wherever it is required by pointing on the Redux directory. Let's get back to app.tsx file. So here we will import our store, and as you can see, other stuff also available whatever we have imported. So our provider will expect the store. We will use the store right here. Here we will use our login component, so which is we have created earlier, and the login component will be login. That's good. So now as you can see, the application is not complaining, and there is no any issue. That means our application is our Redux is properly hooked up with our application. So now this is the time to implement some kind of the dispatch actions right here. So as an example, you can dispatch some kind of like network calls or some other functionality, whatever it is. It can be possible from your component. So we will using web services for login. So these web services will be requiring email ID and password, and as a return it will give some kind of data, which is we have already declared in the user model. Okay, now this is the time to declare some actions. So actions, as an example, you can say you can perform some network calls, some calculations and other stuff from the component app constant. Here we will keep all the applications constants. As an example, for a while we need the base URL. Base URL will be this URL we will use. Yes, mock login will be not required. And so this is the generic URL. Here this is for user only. If it will be for admin, then admin instead of user we can use the admin. Okay, so this app constant we will rename is index.txt. So at least we can directly point it to the util folder. So we can get the all components whatever it is available. Now Now here we need to dispatch some action, so we will declare one function. This is gonna be like export const on login, and this function will require two parameters, email and password, and it will return dispatch. So email will be string and the password will be string. So here we will perform our network calls. So already we have installed Axios. As you can see in the package, the JSON file Axios is already installed. So we will import Axios right here. We need to import our base URL from util folder. Now const response await Axios post. First parameter will be our URL, base URL, and our endpoint. And here slash will be not required because already we have added slash in base URL. So next parameter will be our email and password. So if you have a different name for post parameter, then you can use a different way, but in our case it is the same. Okay. Now it is complaining await. Okay, we need to make these things async. Okay, in this method we need to use async right here. Async, yeah, it's went away. Now we need to check whether the response is there or not. So if response is there, then we will dispatch our payload along with the actions. And if it is not there, we will throw some error, or we will dispatch our error action right here. But dispatch is not available, so we need to import dispatch from React also. Import from React dispatch. Yes. Now it will be available, but we cannot use async right there because we will returning dispatch right here and return async, and here it will be dispatch is type of dispatch, this dispatch, and dispatch will return some kind of actions. That actions will be our user actions. User action. Yes. Okay, that's good. Now all set. We need to move this piece of code inside here in async. Okay. If response is not there, we will throw error. In terms of we will dispatch our error action. Dispatch type will be on error, and payload will be our custom error. Whatever you wish to return. In our case, the login is with the API. If response is available, then we will dispatch type of on login, and payload will be our action payload. But on login action, it is required some kind of data which is already we have created our user model. So in Axios, it has a very good feature, like you can directly parse your data to your model. So we will use here our interface, so user model. That means Axios will give you directly the user model right after receiving the data as a JSON response. So this JSON response to data, as you can see, is a type of data model. So all good. Now it's properly. It will give our data, but we need to wrap these things with the try case, because sometimes it may give you error also. So we need to throw the error. So simply we are dispatching on error, but in this time we will not throwing the custom error. We will send the exact error as a payload, because the payload is already complying as any. That's good. Now our user action is ready. I'm going to fast forward this boilerplate code section. So once our component will be ready, we will continue with Redux once again. All right, our login component is ready. So now this is the right time to hook up our Redux with the React component. So how we can connect this on login function with the React element. So here we need to import our application state and our on login function. So import from Redux application state and on login function. Okay, so this is a functional component, so we will use the Redux hook. So let's import some of the hook components from the Redux, which is going to be like use selector and use dispatch. Okay, so use selector and use the dispatch. Yeah, use effect also will be required from the React, which is we will use lettern. Use effect. So now we need to create one constant. Here we will call it lettern. Whenever API call will be come back, and then we will observe the response. And once suppose the token will be present or token is there, then we will perform some different operation. Let's create a dispatch constant here. Constant dispatch equal to use dispatch. So here, and this is the right place to hook up the state. So use selector, this use selector we are using right here, use selector is expecting the state, which is going to be default root state, which is we have already declared. Application state will be come over here, state as type is application state, and it will return the state of reducer, whatever it is available in that state. So we will deconstruct that the user and error right here. Okay, that's great. So now we will fetch the token right here, and if the token is available from the user, then we will do some operation, and if it doesn't exist, then we will simply do nothing. Okay, token. Now here this token will be available from here once our call will be fired, once our this on login function will be fired. Okay, so somehow we need to call that the on login function. So here const on tap login, and then here we will call on tap, will directly call this on tap login. So here we will pass dispatch, the name of the function, and we will pass the parameters, which is going to be like email ID and password. Email ID and password. Okay, that's good. So now we will be waiting for token. So somewhere we need to log it. Okay, console log token. Okay, let's give a shot of user ID password. This user ID password we will use test. Yeah, that's good. Test @test.com and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Yes, our show hide option also for working fine. As you can see, the response we are getting in the console once I hit the login. So somehow we will display this response in UI also. I'm going to first forward this part. Okay, so this whole user object I'm going to display right here. As you can see, it is displaying correctly. So this is the time to add some additional actions. Once we are getting the response from the user, or user has been changed, user object has been changed, then we will look for the token. If token exists, then it will be it will fire some actions, just like to go to the next page or do some other stuff. Okay, let's see. Okay. Oh, oops! I'm not entering the email ID and password right here, so I need to enter the email ID password. Test @test.com 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Yes. As you can see, and this is received. This is getting called inside the user pack. So now I think you got the idea, like how exactly we can use the Redux with the TypeScript, and how we can perform the network request and all those things. I'm not going to elaborate in details because there's a tons of tutorials are available in YouTube and Google everywhere. So it was my very little initiative to show how we can use the Redux throughout of the applications whenever we are writing in the TypeScript. As a side note, you can add some more functionality once you receive the token. Okay, so here I have added the navigation. Okay, once you receive the token, then it will navigate to the home page. So as you can see, you can find the source code in my GitHub account, and let's try to give a shot by doing login. Okay, here I am using the login, the same user ID password. Yeah, boom, you can see it's working perfectly. Thank you so much for your appreciation and watching this video.